Right, 5:30, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And if we could please start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a quorum here. We did get advance notice that Director Johnston is running behind on the on a ferry, catching a ferry, so she will be here shortly. Do want to indicate purpose of the meeting is for the board to conduct board business. The meeting is open to the public and is being recorded. You can listen to all past board meetings by visiting board docs through our district website. The district is being presented via Zoom. It is not appropriate for audience members to interrupt board business or ask questions during the meeting. And agenda items will be listed in the agenda. In case of emergency, please exit the room and to the exit closest to you. And Director Rocco, would you share a vision and mission statement if you don't mind?
Sure. Our vision is our community inspires and prepares each student to thrive. And our mission is in connection with our community. The Sequim School District empowers staff to inspire hope and provide flexible, innovative learning opportunities in a safe and respectful environment so each student thrives.
Great. And Director Jeffries, would you share our land acknowledgement if you don't mind?
All right, we acknowledge the land we stand on. The Sequim School District administrative and school buildings sit on the ancestral lands of the S'Klallam people. While the S'Klallam traditionally come from one nation, history has led to the formation of three sovereign S'Klallam tribal governments. Lower Elwha S'Klallam tribe located in Port Angeles, Washington. Jamestown S'Klallam tribe located in Sequim, Washington. Port Gamble S'Klallam tribe located in Kingston, Washington. The district's primary partnership is with the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe. Today, the tribe and district share a partnership that includes official consultation on programs and funding changes that may directly affect American Indians and Alaska Native students, as well as holistic service planning for students to remain successful in their educational journey.
Thank you very much. And as we get into the special presentations to the board, do want to make two notes. One is that we will have a 2.04 because we do have a special recognition that we will be talking about, and we're going to change the order just a little bit. We're going to start with the Knowledge Bowl presentation. Go from there. So we're rearranging 2.01 with 2.02. So we'll do Knowledge Bowl first, and I believe we have somebody here. It's okay.
Hello. I want to wait for them to get up here. I guess we'll introduce ourselves. I'm Kimberly Heinz. I've done Eligible for 4 years.
I'm Ian. This is my second year. I'm Jack. This is also my second year.
I'm Malia. This is also my second year.
I'm Jessie. This is my first year.
I'm Layla. This is also my first year.
So I don't know, this year was a really good year for us. We had a lot of people show up at the beginning of the year for practices and just like everything. It was so packed. You were like cramming 8 people around each table and elbowing people to try and buzz in for the buzzer. I guess I should say what Knowledge Bowl is. We're a trivia Knowledge Bowl is a trivia-based club at the high school. It's kind of like Quiz Bowl, but rather than working individually, you work as a team. So if one person buzzes in, you can all discuss and talk about your answer and answer it. We get questions that range from like, what's 4 + 4 to, oh, I don't know, derivatives. Those ones are fun. But we have lots of really random questions. They cover all broad topics. There's ones about plays, but not like super fun plays that I know, but like, I don't know, there's just a lot of them. There's history questions, there's all kinds of things. There's really random chemistry ones that none of us can ever get, except for Gavin, who is not with us, but also a member of our team. He is alive. He's just not here at present moment. we had a really great season this year. Our first tournament, we were playing with a few less players, but we got, was it second or third? Second out of all the schools that were there. There were about 16 teams, full guess. From different schools in the area. We have 8 or so schools that go. They usually bring a few each. And then at our second tournament, so we have 3 tournaments every year in the state. At our second tournament, we got first place, and we finally beat out the team that we were fighting the first round with our whole team that we had. And then our third tournament, which was the state qualifier tournament, we ended up getting first place, and it's the first time in a long time that we've been able to get first at state qualifiers. So it was a super big achievement for us. We kind of smoked the other teams out. It was really fun. Just answering all the questions and getting everywhere that we wanted to be. And then at state, we had a really rough patch after our first round of questions where I personally was panicking a lot because I thought we weren't going to go to the second half. It was very emotion filled. But we ended up qualifying to go to the second half of our tournament where we were able to take third place overall and out of the entire state of Washington, which was a pretty big achievement for us. Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions?
I have one. How those questions that come, are they random or is it like out of a group? Can you like know the questions ahead of time, or are these kind of like random Jeopardy type questions?
Kind of really random.
Okay.
There are questions like they'll describe they'll describe like a Supreme Court case and they ask you to name it, or they will just like say the main character or that like several works and they'll ask you to name the author. It's just like stuff where you hear it and you're like, well, how the heck am I supposed to know that?
So if it's team-based, so then that really encourages, I would imagine, that team, because you might have someone that knows something about the art, someone that knows more about science.
We kind of like before our tournament, like our big state one, our advisor, Ms. Gould, gave us each a mug that talked about a different topic. So my mug personally was like literature, and I had a bunch of different notable first quotes of books. Ian had geological time periods. Malia's our art buff, so she had a bunch of art stuff. What was you?
I have space.
He had space. So we just have you had Supreme Court cases, which is why she brought up the Supreme Court cases one. So we just get a bunch of different like topics, and we all kind of are like, oh well, I know these things, so I'm fairly well versed in the books, and I do those for the most part. But there's a bunch of other things that we all know parts of, or we'll be like, okay, this person's gonna get this thing, so we don't have to worry about it. And then as for like getting the questions, we practice with, we have to purchase the questions that we practice with. So every year we purchase a set of questions, and we're practicing with those throughout the year. There's like so many of them. We still haven't gone through all of them, and it's, May.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the tournaments and stuff, there's no knowing those. You just have to, like, ahead of time, you get there, you answer them as they get thrown at you. It's thrilling.
Thank you.
I just have a comment. I just think you introduced it as a trivia contest, which is the way that probably is described. And I just think it sounds more like a fact contest and not trivia. Trivia sort of undercuts what you guys have really accomplished, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not trivial
great.
knowledge. It's good knowledge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely practices a lot of different skills.
For those of you who've done it more than 1 year, next year will you get the same Supreme Court set of questions, or do you branch off and?
So there's definitely different questions every year. You're not going to get any repetitive questions. You'll get some that are slightly similar to previous years. So like it's kind of hard to explain how the questions work because they're very weirdly phrased and you have to like pick through what they're saying to answer it. But if you get a question, instead of it saying like the author, it might give you the author and ask for the work. But they're all like so different, and there's thousands of questions, like tens of thousands that we go through every year. So it's like a lot.
And then I have one other question. How many are planning on returning next year?
They're all seniors.
We're all seniors.
The seniors. Oh, well, good job on getting your way. You good. Good luck recruiting for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a fairly yeah. We have lots of underclassmen that are doing it as well.
Cool.
We did have a lot of seniors this year. I think 7 or 8. There's usually like 3, but yeah, we have a lot of juniors and people that are interested in joining. So next year should be good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Awesome outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now we are going to go to the Interact Club. You're back. Wardrobe change and
Sure. Sure. Hi.
hi.
Our club, there's a little miscommunication about what time we were supposed to be here. So there are more people coming in approximately 4 minutes. Until then, we'll just get started. I'm Layla. I'm president of Interact. Interact Club at our high school is a service club. We have so many members this year. We had 72 people signed up via final form, so the official members of our club, and around 40 participating members. So yeah, a little bit about our motto. So our motto is service above self. That means that's just our what we are. We're a service club. Yeah, this extends, I'll talk about later, but our pledge, our 4-way test that we say, describes the things we think, say, and do every single meeting. Sorry. Oh yeah, so Interact Club is an international organization of high school students who partner with their local Rotarian clubs. So Sequim High School partners with Sequim Sunrise Rotary, which means that we are always talking to our local Rotarians. We go to their meetings every Friday. Colleen, who I'll talk about in the next slide, is our liaison. And yeah. So our advisors are Colleen and Ms. Reichner. Ms. Reichner is our an English teacher at the high school. She has been doing Interact for 7 years, a lot of years. It's been a long time. You just read the slides. Colleen is the nicest person to work with. She's dedicated and inspiring. She is really involved in Clallam County Habitat for Humanity and really kind of guides how to aid SQUIM. Ms. Reichner is someone who we're beyond grateful for. She is the definition of service above self. She's determined and committed. She makes it a real point to include all members and really just to value our community. So those are our advisors. Officers, I'm Layla. I'm the president. Malia, our treasurer. Cooper Hyatt is our vice president. They're not here right now. Kendra Dotson will be here soon. She is our secretary. We have our publicity chairs, Tiffany and Ashton, and we have lots of photographers this year. We have John and Nico here with us today. Those are our officers. We also have Matea and Kira, who were unable to make it, but they're graduating seniors, and they've all done, every officer you see here has put in so much time and effort outside of class, especially our secretary, our publicity chairs, treasurer, photographers. They do so much for just to keep our club running. This is the 4-way test. This is the things we think, say, and do. This is, yes, Malia will talk about this one.
Hi, I'm Malia Nelson. So like Layla said, I'm the treasurer. Every single meeting, We conduct this and we say this as a club. So our four-way motto is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So every service project and everything that we do as a club, we really try to build on these foundations and make sure that everybody is included and everybody is living by these truths.
Coins. This was supposed to be Kendra's. I'll just talk about this. So this year we have kind of adopted something that Rotary does. We give coins. They're little metal coins. They have the the Rotary logo and the four-way test on them. And each meeting, someone is recognized for an amazing thing that they've done. And once you receive a coin, you are on the lookout for people who exemplify the tenets of Interact. And then the next meeting, the next couple of weeks, you give the coin away. And so it's just kind of like this continuous recognition of people who are doing good work. Okay, so the flag deployment is something that we've kind of always done. We stopped doing it this year, but it was always super fun when we did it. We would go out, we'd split off into usually 2 groups, and we would just go out and put the flags up all around town. And usually we would try and make it fun by like making it a race and seeing who could get back the quickest. It was always fun to ride in the back of the truck, but it was always super fun just like running around and putting up all the flags. So yeah.
So Rally in the Alley, it's an opportunity for our club with the Habitat for Humanity store to sort of for people who can't or don't throw away their like garbage or junk to sort of do so. And at first it started as a thing with the fire department to get rid of fire hazards in people's homes who like just kind of have stuff waiting in their house and they don't get rid of it. And it's honestly a great opportunity to like meet new people. The Habitat store gets to sell new things that they find of value, and it's a great way to like help the community.
Actually, Kendra, do you want to put this one? This is our secretary.
Hello. So every year we help Miss Westcott, she likes to come sub at Scrum High School. We all love her, but we aid her and we help her with Christmas lights. So we usually set them up near First Federal and I think another bank and Sound Community Bank. And it's super awesome experience. It gets to spread the Christmas love and cheer, but we will wake up on a Saturday and go out and decorate all the bushes and put up Christmas lights. And it's really nice to see everyone come together and help Miss Westcott. And she really appreciates it. She will come talk to our club and promote it. And we all love to help her. So that was really fun this year and past. So great experience.
Yeah, so the Giving Tree is an event that we did around Christmas time, and basically what it is a couple of people go down and we help make bags for people who need essentials. So in the bags they'll have toothbrushes, soap, toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, anything that someone might need. And then we hang it on something that we call the Giving Tree, and it's a little tree that we have in the town center where people can pick off and whatever they need. And then we restock it throughout the I think it's a couple of months, right? Yeah, like 2 months or so around Christmas time. And then and all the items that we get are from donation. And yeah, so
The tractor parade was something new this year. It was super fun. We helped decorate all the tractors to help the swim museum, and it was really pretty. And we also directed traffic and stuff. So our Christmas party or our senior luncheon is an event where we organize an event at the Boys and Girls Club, and we invite older citizens from our community that live in like retirement communities or retirement homes who typically might not have like family in the area to celebrate Christmas with. And so We set them up with like a really nice lunch, and we hand deliver all of their food. Santa's there, so they can take pictures with Santa. It's really just to like outreach to part of our community that sometimes gets looked past. I think this is our second or third year doing it. Yeah.
So every year, the barn dance that happens at Squim Grange, or this year it happened at Squim Grange, it moves around year for year. They ask us for help with setup and takedown. So these pictures are some of our students helping with setup. This year they didn't actually need a lot of help, but we were happy to help set up tables and put up some lights, to, make sure that they had a successful dance. So.
Yes.
Walk for Water is far and away one of the biggest events Interact does. It's been going for about 7 years. It is kind of like the hallmark of, or the, I don't know, when you think of Interact, this is what most people know us from. Every year in the winter, typically around March, February, March, Interact goes around from business to business, reaches out to community members and solicits donations. And we use this money to build wells in Africa. This year we built a well in Kenya, or no, Nigeria, sorry, Nigeria. But every year the place where we build the well changes. So in years past we've built wells in like I think last year it was in Kenya, or last year was in Nigeria, the year before that it was in Kenya. We walk, the big event we do is after we've solicited all these donations, we walk from the middle school to the Dungeness River Center, pick up water in buckets and walk back as kind of like a symbolic gesture. Students just like us and communities just like ours all the way across the world have to make that walk for clean and sometimes not so clean water. And so it's something we do to raise awareness and kind of connect with this community, which we are building well for. And this year was really successful. We had to raise the most amount of money we've ever had to raise because inflation. But it was $5,200 was the amount of money we had to raise, and we exceeded that by over $1,000. So we are, sorry, not 5,000. Goodness, $2,500 was the amount we had to raise, and we exceeded that by over $1,000. So that money has gone into what we will have for next year. So we have a head start. And it was just amazing the support we got from our community. That on the screen are the 10 people who raised the most money. Miss Reichner is standing in for Julia Randu, who raised the most money. Yeah, she raised over 1,000. So yeah, it is 5,000. Oh man, shoot! It is 5,000. I undersold us.
So the color run is something we did in partnership with our leadership class. It's during the Sunshine Festival. So there's a 1K and a 5K at Carrie Blake Park. And as people run, you just dust them with like dyed cornstarch. And so we were on the yellow team. So yeah, you just stand on both sides of the sidewalk, and as they run, you douse them in color. It's a really good event to like connect with the community and just like really, what's the word I'm looking for? Yes. Spread cheer. Yeah.
So the spring rally was the spring version of Rally in the Alley. It's where we have community members. They take stuff they don't want anymore, and we can either pitch it, recycle it, or give it a new purpose. And so people don't have as much clutter, and just to be involved in the community.
It's the same event before, it's biannual, so we just have to do
Nice.
irrigation parade. I'll do this one. So I don't know if you went to the parade, you might have seen us. We lead the parade every year with the Boy Scouts and the Rotary, carrying flags. We've been doing this for a really long time. And I think this is one of the best ways we can reach out to our community. The Irrigation Festival is the longest running festival in Washington. It's so iconic to swim, and you just interact with so many different like demographics. We see like tiny kids all the way to like people who are 98 and have been living here their whole lives. So it's really amazing to be able to do that every year. So as Layla said earlier, we are a subsection of a parent Rotary club. And so every Friday that they have a Rotary meeting, which is most Fridays, we have a couple students that wake up extra early and get there at 7, and we sit through, as most of the road at like my Final season.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My brain is just not even thinking of words. We sit through as much of the Rotary meeting as we can because obviously we have to get to school. It helps us connect with Rotary because I think that it's easy for the clubs to get a little separated. We tell the Rotary like any big events that we're doing.
And then we get to hear what Rotary has been doing.
So it helps us communicate with our like parent club.
So this year Rotary set aside $16,000 for senior scholarships. So they gave away to 8 students $2,000 each. Most were academic, some were specific for their careers like education or STEM. So the people that got the scholarships were me, Kimberly Heinz, Skylar Kuzwaz, Ginger Hyatt, Matea Brilhart, Jameson Gray, Kira Moore, and Amara Gonzalez. So Rotary sets aside some money every year to continue celebrating and pushing forward education for kids in our community, and it's really great.
Do you have any questions for Interact? Sorry that took so long. It was disorganized.
It just seems like y'all do so many things, which is awesome. I'm just curious for students that are interested, how does that just spread through kind of word of mouth? How do you recruit new folks in as folks cycle through?
So typically we have the club fair, which is all clubs go and advertise what they do. It is word of mouth. We're usually the most we usually have the most members out of any club. It's I think just something that students know about, especially if you have siblings or friends. But also because of what has happened in the past couple of years with Boys in the Boat and Joe Rance and George Clooney, I think it was just such a big deal. Everyone knew about Interact, and there was a lot of excitement. I think especially in our high school, like students who are already in our high school. So it is usually a upperclassmen club. I think typically in years past you have more juniors and seniors, but lately we've kind of seen a change where you have a lot of freshmen and sophomores and juniors.
Okay. Well, so there'll be a need to appeal to another celebrity to keep that momentum going, basically. Is that the
I don't know if we can pull that one off twice.
Any questions? Any other questions?
I'm just very impressed.
Yeah, thanks for putting together that slideshow.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I do have a comment though. I've been involved with planning of the district strategic plan, been involved on facilities, committees, CTE advisory committees. And I just have to say a reoccurring theme that I hear from our community out there is they want our district to be interactive with the community and to give back. Everything we do, that's one of those highlights that come up. So the fact that you are there doing that and your numbers are good and we see all the good work you're doing is fulfilling that wish of our community. So I wanted to thank you for stepping up and doing that work.
Of course,
Great.
it's our pleasure. We're so excited to be able to serve school in that way. So, yeah.
Thanks
you
for all
so
you
much.
do. It's really
Yeah.
impressive.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You want to?
no. Okay. Okay, we're gonna just move on to.
All right. I believe we're gonna postpone, at least for the moment, the robotics presentation. Yeah, that's gonna bring us to the newly added agenda item, right? I'll let you go ahead and introduce that.
Tonight, we have a bit of a surprise for you, and so I'm going to ask Principal Lopez to approach the podium and discuss a special recognition.
Do you want to come up? I know you don't want to. I think you should. So this is Shannon Green. She's, where do I talk here?
Both.
Either one, both.
Yeah, right.
This is Shannon Green. She's a second grade teacher at Grey Wolf Elementary. And we just found out within the last day or so that she is also our region's Teacher of the Year. So we're really excited about that.
Wow.
The Teacher of the Year process is very rigorous. They have to be nominated by someone. First, it could be a parent, it could be a colleague, a principal, even a student. And once they're nominated, they have to agree to kind of undergo a process where they get letters of support. I think you had to do writing yourself as well. And she's not the kind of person that is, wants the spotlight. That's why I had her come up. But I would say she had some colleagues that really encouraged her to go through with the process because the work she does is amazing. And so we all felt that that should be recognized. And so she now joins 8 other teachers from around the state in the running for Washington State Teacher of the Year. And so we're pretty excited about that. Regan asked if I could share a few things. And since her mom is here and her kids, I never want to cheat a mom or their kids of hearing amazing things. So I just thought I'd share with you the words that I wrote in support of Shannon. You don't have to stand here if you don't want to, but okay. All right. So I wrote a letter and it said, it is truly a great honor to write to support Shannon Green's candidacy for Washington Teacher of the Year. Shannon epitomizes excellence in education and possesses qualities that make her not only an exceptional teacher, but also a transformative presence in the lives of her students, colleagues, and community. For the past 19 years, Shannon has dedicated herself to serving the students of our school with unwavering commitment and passion. One of Shannon's most remarkable strengths is her ability to genuinely connect with each of her students. She takes the time to understand their individual strengths, needs, and aspirations, allowing her to tailor her support and guidance to help them thrive both academically and personally. This personalized approach fosters an environment where every student feels valued and empowered to succeed. This year, Shannon embraced a particularly challenging and impactful assignment, working with some of our most struggling readers at the second grade level. Demonstrating her commitment to professional growth and her students' success, she mastered the UFly intervention curriculum and seamlessly incorporated it into her daily small group instruction. I would also add she invited any staff member, colleague that wanted to come in and observe and kind of pick up on some tips, and we had a lot of people take advantage of that, which helped it spread in our building. Her innovative and dedicated efforts have provided these students with the targeted support they need to overcome challenges and develop critical reading skills. This reflects her unwavering resolve to ensure every student has the opportunity to achieve their fullest potential prior to the critical third grade year. Shannon and I have shared a professional journey that spans 2 decades. It's a part of the advancement in the time-space continuum where we don't age, but yeah. We completed our student teaching in neighboring classrooms and taught together for many years before my transition to administration. Working alongside her has given me the privilege of witnessing her extraordinary talents, her boundless enthusiasm for education, and her steadfast dedication to her students and their families. Her consistent communication with families keeps them informed about their child's progress and provides practical ways to support learning at home, fostering a collaborative partnership that amplifies student success. Her dedication to her students extends far beyond the classroom walls. Over the years, she has poured her energy into coaching basketball and volleyball, providing students with invaluable opportunities to build teamwork, discipline, and confidence.
She has also played a central role in organizing and producing musicals and talent shows for many years, giving students a platform to express themselves creatively and build their self-esteem. Additionally, Shannon worked tirelessly to advocate for and secure funding that allowed her grade level team to take their students on a field trip to the nearest zoo, an enriching experience 2 hours away that many of these students might not have otherwise had. These efforts demonstrate her deep commitment to providing her students with opportunities that inspire growth, curiosity, and joy. Further underscoring her dedication to excellence in teaching, she's a National Board Certified Teacher, a distinction that reflects her exceptional expertise, commitment to lifelong learning, and ability to meet the highest standards of the profession. This certification is a testament to her mastery of the art and science of teaching and her unwavering commitment to her students' success. She's not just a teacher, she's a leader, a mentor, and a role model, and her impact extends far beyond the walls of her classrooms. So I just wanted to say, we're really lucky to have her, and that is a sentiment that's shared with all who work with her. So, yay, Shannon. Any questions for Shannon?
Just congratulations. Quite
Thank
the
you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent.
I also wanted to say just thank you. I think students that are getting to have you as their teacher are so lucky. I've just heard so many stories about what happens in her class. And this year she's taken on a new way of us kind of looking at how we fill classrooms and meet students' needs. And she's just doing an outstanding job. And the ESD called today to let me know that this honor was being bestowed, and they're just so excited about this. And the superintendent of the ESD will be coming to our district at a later time to present you with an official honor around it. So you'll be coming back. But honestly, on behalf of all the students and all of us who work with you, we're just honored to have you with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the recognition, and yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Excellent.
A great family that just shows up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
She's a great.
There goes the flower. That's cool.
Okay. And with that, we'll move on to the approval of our minutes, our agenda and consent agenda. With our minutes, it's the May 5th and May 14th minutes. Is there any objection to the approval of minutes, agenda and consent agenda?
No objection, but I did want to take a moment to acknowledge Miss Ramponi did provide the second half of her $1 million donation. So we did
Right.
receive $500,000 from Miss Ramponi. So I think
That's-
that deserves a clap. Such an awesome thing, considering we've got a buildings that need, so that lets us get a head start on some of this stuff. So we truly appreciate such a commitment to our district. And then also Katie Magelson for her almost $4,885 donation for Swim High School band uniforms. So we appreciate that too, and that program is really appreciative of that. So thank you.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes.
So I thank you, Director Roca, for acknowledging both donations. And I did want to share that Mrs. Ramponi was invited to be here tonight, but she is in the hospital in Tacoma. She's going to hopefully be doing okay. We'll be checking up on her and we'll send our best to her. And when she is recovered, we will absolutely have her back so we can acknowledge with her in the room.
Yeah. Well, please let her know. We're looking forward to seeing her, and yeah.
I will.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other or any objection to the approval? All right, we'll consider those approved. And moving on, we're going to move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. And so if you are attending the meeting via Zoom, you can indicate your desire to make public comment using the raise hand feature. Should be located on the bottom of your Zoom program. So please go ahead and do that now if you are wishing to make public comment. And we'll also check the sign in here as well. I believe Tracy's grabbing for it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll close. Any raise hands in Zoom? Okay. With that, we're gonna close the public comment portion meeting. We don't have anyone signed up for public comment. Okay, these are all okay. All right.
So we do not have public comment, but we do have someone on the line who was in our consent agenda. We have moved forward with a selection for our Special Services Director, and his name is Stephen Dahl, and he is on the call with us tonight. And I would like to give him a moment to introduce himself to you all virtually and welcome him to our school district in that important position. So, Stephen, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hello.
We have speakers.
We are having a bit of technical difficulty, so one moment, please. Okay, I think we might have your audio with us now. So welcome, Stephen, and I just wanted to allow you a few moments to introduce yourself to the school board.
Well, thank you for allowing me to join virtually. We'll see how the audio is going.
It's going well.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Wow, what an introduction to SQUIM in terms of the students and faculty presence. Just really appreciated what I was able to enjoy previous to this. Just a little bit about myself. I've been an administrator for 14 years. Previous to that, I was a special education teacher regionally at Ferndale High School, and I started as a paraeducator. And actually, before I was a paraeducator, I was in the community settings with adults with disabilities for 5 years. So that gives you a sense of the broad spectrum of things I've done to support individuals who have unique learning needs and skills and abilities. More recently, I'm currently with the Lopez Island School District, where it's a very small system. But what I love about that is it gives you a chance to really build relationships. And that's probably one of the things I'd want you to know about me is I'm really interested in the success of others and supporting them is my #1 goal. So in a different capacity, I served as a consultant with the Center for Educational Effectiveness out of Bellevue. And the scale of my major project was the Gwinnett County Schools in Georgia, largest district in Georgia. And they had 182,000 students. And what they were trying to do is scale basically relationships, right? So the work that I did translates to any setting because at the core of all that we do as educators, as teachers, as leaders, as board members, as parents, is to help remove barriers to learning and to really help focus our energy on what works to help students thrive. So with that, I'm so excited to join Superintendent Nichols and the team there. Looking forward to jumping right in this summer and being part of an amazing team in SQUIM.
Great. Well, welcome. We appreciate you coming aboard.
Thank you for having me.
So you'll be hearing more from Mr. Dahl as we move forward. And as he says, we are equally excited about welcoming him. And we have so much knowledge that can be shared with him from all of our staff in our special education department and other departments in special services. So we look forward to the transition and we'll keep you updated. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right. That's going to bring us to our student board representative report. We'll go to Lincoln.
Good evening, everybody. Today our juniors had the science SBA test. Last Friday there was the senior ball, which I heard was lots of fun and went very well. This Thursday we will be having our athletics ceremony. Our scholarship award ceremony will be next week, Wednesday, the 28th, and our senior recognition assembly will be Friday, the 30th, next week. That is all.
All right. Thank you. Next we have Finance and Enrollment Report. Hello.
Hello. Thank you, President Pickens. Good evening, Director, Superintendent Nichols, Assistant Superintendent Hudson. I have a decidedly mundane budget status report for you tonight, which is really not a bad thing. This is for April. This is our enrollment comparison for April. It isn't what we like to see. However, you will see that we are still ahead of what we had budgeted. Also, preliminary reports for May show that we've pretty much stabilized. So we're hoping that enrollment for the rest of the year will stay static. Okay, our 3-year revenue trend. What I bring to you each month really is only a snapshot of comparing April to April, March to March. So the real story is told at the end of the year when we can compare years to years and we can actually see where we end up. But this does tell us a little bit of a story. You can see that our revenues overall are down a little bit, but I think that can be mostly contributed to the loss of ESSER funding this year. And we look at our expenditure trend, and our expenditures are up just a little bit this April from last April. But when you look at things like travel, you can see that last April we didn't have a lot in travel, and this April we do. We had a lot of sports, a lot of things happening this spring. We also did last year as well. I looked back at the March status report that I brought to this body last month, and April of 2024 had about a $61,000 travel. So again, we look month to month and it doesn't tell us the full story because it just depends on when these expenditures hit. Here is our expenditure detail. The column that tells you the percent expended tells you that we are on track for where we should be at this point in the school year. And this is the full financial summary that we like to look at the ending fund balance. And we always like what it looks like in April. If it could look like that every month, we would be so happy. So here we are following the regular trends for when we receive our apportionment. Here's how it stacks up against our 4 to 6% goal. And like every April, we're just blowing past our goal. Here we are, the general fund 5-year trend. As you can see, we're fairly steady. We had a little, in April of 2022, little dip there, but for the most part, we're fairly steady. And now we're into our the rest of our funds. Here's our ASB fund. Again, as I said, this is a run-of-the-mill report. There's nothing exciting to point out. This slide, I keep it waiting for this slide to look much more interesting. We're not quite there yet. Our transportation vehicle fund, everything is just holding pretty constant from month to month at this point. The capital project fund, finishing up those projects, down spending the account as we would expect. And that is it. Any questions? Yes.
On that enrollment, student enrollment,
Mhm.
do we follow the trend of most districts with the exception of maybe a couple of outliers where?
Mhm. That's a good question. Superintendent Nichols, are you aware of other trends for other districts?
I don't have information on other districts' trends, but I will say the reasons that we have studied that our students are departing makes sense that they would show up in other districts.
Right.
So of course, we have students who are just moving out of the area. We have students who complete their high school program or might exit from Running Start. We have students who might move on to a different learning type of environment like homeschool. We also have a situation where very few, but students who are in juvenile detention. So we're tracking now. And what Victoria shared about May stabilizing, the preliminary numbers show us that May's count was almost a mirror image of April's. So that's good news.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. So we're gonna go to a bond update.
Yes. So I'd like to start having a recurring report for bond updates so that not only the board, but also the community can be kept up to date on what we're doing. So we just saw in Victoria's report that there was the debt service fund, and it really hasn't had any movement. But I'm going to talk to you tonight about how it will. Okay. So we've come to you with a bond planning structure where we had intended to have 2 sales. So those 2 sales would have taken the total bond amount of 145.9 million and divided it in half and had a $72 million sale coming up in June and then one in 2026 December. With that structure, we had predicted forward what the tax rate would be because we wanted steadiness for our community. Okay, so it would be $1.86. We have kept watch with DA Davidson, who is just amazing at what they do and so efficient at the markets. And we also have been working in Mike Santos's world around how much of the funding we would really need to do the work in the next 18 months. We have made some adjustments based on those factors of what funding the school district would need to carry out the initial functions of the bond and addressing market swings that we've been seeing. So we are coming to you to let you know that we have restructured this sale. So instead of going with 2 sales, we're going to go with 3 sales. So each of the sales you'll see in that box up at the top right will be approximately 48,650,000 if the structure holds for what we need to the future. I'll talk about that in a moment. What you'll see here is that the tax rate actually has a byproduct of improving if we project out by 1 cent. Okay. And what we know is that the 48,650,000 for this first bond sale is adequate for the functions that we will need it to be funding over the first 18 months of the bond. Okay. You can also see here that the structure that moves forward with the bond sale into 2028 and forward, as we get to that second sale time, we have the flexibility to restructure it again. So we will be watching the markets with DA Davidson. We'll be receiving the advice around what would make sense. We will be tracking what types of funding we require for what is coming next in the bond as we move forward. And we might come back to you and have a suggestion that the structure not be 48-6 and 48-6 for the second and third sales. But what we will be critically attentive to is that our taxpayers are having the rate met that we have projected. Of course, we all know that the bond markets are what we rely on to help have that happen. So we hope that we actually will have an interest rate benefit in the future in 18 months. And moving forward, this will be a benefit for all. So I just wanted to let you know the sale is scheduled for June 9th. And I will be watching with DA Davidson how that sale goes for us. And we're hopeful for a strong rating. The ratings call did occur, and I'll tell you more about that. But I want to have any questions answered around this in the moment. Any questions? Okay. All right. So let me tell you about the bond rating call. That call was attended by myself, Victoria, Elijah as our new finance manager, and Corey Plager from DA Davidson, along with 2 bond raters. And we were put through all of the paces of having to reflect what progress our district is making on many fronts. So we also needed to be able to articulate about our community and the strengths of it. So coming out of that call, there was guidance around when the bond rating would be issued. Most recently, Port Angeles had a bond rating and they were issued at an A3. And so regionally, we were told that we'll be looking in that ballpark. I will say this to you, that we made the case that our community right now, especially with the residential construction that's happening, is in a good position. And we also want to be sure that we recognize that our fund balance is a critical and majority metric they use to score us. So although our fund balance has been steady, the amount of fund balance that bond raters like to see is different than 4%. So that will be a critical factor for us. And we did emphasize how strongly the board supports us increasing the fund balance. Okay, and that's my update. The next bond oversight committee meeting will happen as the summer progresses, and we will keep them up to date as well.
Right.
Oh, well,
The spotlight on here.
Okay.
Moment. Superintendent report.
Okay, so one of the jobs that I've had since our last meeting was to work with the special services interview team. Of course, you've already met Mr. Dahl, so you know how that process concluded. I just wanted to take some time to thank the folks who paused their typical work for us and participated in the interview process. It was very thorough. We had a special ed teacher from both elementary and secondary on the panel, along with a school psychologist. We also had 2 folks come from outside of our school district. Special ed director of the ESD was in attendance, along with North Kitsap's special ed director. So we had such expertise on the panel, and we really appreciate that. And of course, Victoria's office runs the human resource searches, and they do a wonderful job. So thank you, Victoria, for all of that efficiency. And Aaron Fox served on the panel with us as well as our principal rep. And I just really appreciate all the partnership there and gathering of all the folks that needed to be at the table. I'd like to speak a bit about our policy committee. Our policy committee continues to meet. We met just last week. What I would say to you is that we recognize that it's probably time for our policy committee to consider how we start doing a review that's a bit larger in scope, so that we're getting not only our policies updated that might not have been looked at for a while, but we're looking at procedures also. That's a huge undertaking and was done 3 years ago as a heavy lift. So we know we're getting closer. So we may be asking for more help than just a couple of representatives on the policy committee, because when we do this, it's probably going to be spending a day looking at policy and bringing back a number to the school board. So just know we're thinking about that and be ready. We've been very busy with budget development, and I want to give you a budget update tonight. It's minimal, but since Wednesday, we have made a few steps, so I'd like you to have those. So can we pull up the budget development? Okay, so the update that I have is that we have moved along the road just a bit by drafting additional iterations of our budget. Okay, just to bring some scope, these are all draft numbers. I cannot emphasize this enough. But right now, our current expenses draft is highly inclusive. So we've tried to hear from every part of our community about what could be helpful, and we decided on what we thought we could try to put in the budget. Obviously, we have a gap, so we're going to have to be making some changes. Our expenses draft is $49,800,929. Our revenue draft is at $48,371,308. So that brings up the $1.4 million gap that we have been talking to you about. The drafting part is the important part to know. So that led to about a 2.8% budget gap. And when you hear 2.8%, you know, it may not seem like so much, but it is, because our budget is 82% personnel. So any moves we make are really in the balance with people's jobs and careers. So we need to be very thoughtful here. So what steps have we taken to address this? We've looked at materials, supplies, and operating costs, known as MSOC. And our MSOCs, we did a revenue review because there is new money coming in for MSOCs. And for districts in the state of Washington, it's about 7%. That's approximately $117 per student, approximately. The issue is we've had such escalation with MSOC expenditure, it far outpaces the 7%. And I'm going to show you an example here in a minute. So we've gone through line by line of MSOC expenses. We see our MSOCs are coming in at about $9.8 million. And for budget creation of school districts, it's recommended that in our state, you have about 20% MSOCs. We're at 20.5% before any cuts. Okay, so we're right there. And our reduction target, because of that 0.5%, is about $350,000. Okay, we worked really hard today to try to meet that target. And we have ideas that we've drafted, but it's a tough road. Okay, big decisions had to be made in that meeting. So we're still looking at it, all drafts. Okay, so let's talk about one of these MSOCs and 7% coming to a school district to cover the escalation. This is the chart of our risk pool insurance premiums. And I've got a handout for you. You could just pass that around to each person. It just shows the breakdown of where these numbers come from. But the bottom line I'd like you to know is that since 2021-22, our insurance premiums have doubled. Okay. Right now, we're looking at the increase for next year. We just received it today. That's why I have this handout. $942,682 for insurance premiums. And that was a 48% increase over 5 years.
Why? What pushes that increase?
Well, we belong to a pool. So when you belong to a pool, the effects on your premiums are shared across the district. Every district does have a rating for how they themselves are performing, and that is part of the cause. You do see that there has been some escalation that is a bit more distance in the earlier years. So we did have some lawsuit activity back then. But as we move forward in the ensuing years where we haven't had that type of effect, honestly, we've been told to have 15% increases budgeted. So that's what we've done. And that's pool wide. There are some school districts in our pool that are having higher increases than we are, for sure.
So does this cover all of our insurance? So auto, liability, property, so all of those
Yes.
things? Okay.
Yes. So that handout that you'll receive will show you the breakdown. Okay. We also have cybersecurity insurance, but the pool covers the pool for cybersecurity, and we have a $2,500 deductible in our district because of our size.
What's the difference?
2,500. Okay. So what are our next steps? We're going to keep a revenue review going because we know that we need to confirm what the legislative actions will result in for revenue increases. We've already put the MSOC increase in. We already had well before today. We have other avenues where we've put in the additional revenue we anticipate. Now we're down to the last minutes of feathering out. Remember how I talked to you about that $660,000 for special ed? We are still seeking what are the actual rules on that? Is that going to be the final number? Is there going to be some level of clawback or an effect to safety net funding because we apply for safety net? We have some very expensive situations that we need to make sure are done well for kids, and we want to be sure we can apply. So we'll see. Then we're going to continue to focus on expense reduction. We did that today. We were aiming for that $350,000 MSOC reduction. We got far. Restructuring. If we restructure that technology lease, it will allow us to push off $67,000 of expense. But I'm not going to call it a savings because you're pay me now or pay me later plus a little interest. So we know we have that as an option. They are willing to work with us around that, but it's going to be a last resort because it's not going to be helpful to us in the longer run. Okay. Management of attrition. We have 11 open positions right now. So we know that we have to be attentive about how we are able to have our personnel fill those positions and not have the new hiring to the degree that we might have enjoyed if we didn't have this $1.4 million deficit. So we've got to look at all the moves that are possible. 11 positions is a lot. So we will be doing some hiring in our school district that is from outside, no doubt about it. But we need to be open to all of the pathways we have. So this is our budget development schedule. I wanted you to be aware of what path we're on. Here we are, May 19th, you received an update. June 2nd, you'll receive another update similar to today, hopefully with more specifics as we keep getting them. June 16th, we're going to have a budget package presented to you because we have to have it finalized before the migration to cumulative. Okay. Once we've presented the package to you, we're going to be moving it out so that it has its 2-week public review period that's required. Okay. And then we'll come back on July 14th. The cumulative transition will have occurred. We will now be looking at our budget in cumulative. We will have a public hearing that's required and hopefully budget approval. So that's our track. The management of attrition will be our critical path, along with that expense reduction and trying to find every bit of revenue that we may not be aware of just simply because of legislative shifts. I want to be clear as a bell with you, though. Those are going to be very small amounts. We are aware of the larger packages that we knew were going to be coming, so we'll see where it goes. Okay. So that's what I have for you. Any questions on the budget side?
Can you go back briefly to the insurance escalation? I'm just curious, something I think that, well, maybe it's not even our insurance escalation, but maybe it's the entire pool. It might be interesting when we're advocating for MSOC improvements at a state level for us to be able to share some specifics, whether it's district-wide or pool-wide or even regional.
Absolutely.
With our folks to, down in Olympia, just to share. It's just one more thing. I mean, it's obviously it would be, we have to have insurance. I mean, it would, but it's not something that we can just easily just flip a switch to change, or it's not, it's, the pool is really our only option, right? So yeah, I'm just wondering, put a bookmark in that to maybe start having some more conversations about. So because that is quite the escalation right there.
And it looks like it's just gonna continue. I mean, it's not like it's even up and down. It's just on a train. And we are kind of a captive audience with the risk pool, so it's not like we can shop around, right?
The theme for budget development this year is pressure. And this is the type of pressure that we see, escalation. Okay, so we're done with the budget development side. Now I would like to introduce to you about some school security and safety guidelines and standards. And I want you to consider this kind of like a soft launch, because you're going to be hearing more about this from Mike Sanos in the days and months, years to come. One thing that we've recognized here in the district, especially since Director Sanos has come along, is that much of what we do has been based in practices. So we know what best practices are, or we have had traditions of how we've practiced or had procedures. And the call now has been, we really need to have the basis be in standards and guidelines, and our practices should follow those, not just rest on the laurels that we've had solid practices or not. So we've been looking at what school safety and security guidelines and standards are available to us to have a measured way that we actually are having metrics, and we are looking at what should be happening in our schools. And then, of course, with school construction, these will be very important. So I have a handout for you. And this handout is a chart. And the chart shows different types of standards and guidelines. And I'll be talking to you just briefly about what's on our mind so that you can be anticipating more information. So why have school safety guidelines and standards? We know that there is a need for comprehensive school safety. We have all heard stories across the nation and world around school threats and intrusions and hazards. I will say to you, I do not want to be an alarmist. I think that our school district has performed very well in the safety arena, and schools continue to be basically one of the safest places you could have your children. They really are, and our school district is no exception to it. But we do have a community responsibility to be well prepared. And it is critically important that we think about the ethical and the legal requirements that we face. RCWs are strong in Washington State for school safety. So we need to be, of course, attentive to those. We also want to recognize that the best foot forward for school safety is what is going on with your school climate. That is the best place to be starting. And so if you came to the Design Advisory Committee, which some of you do attend, you'll hear this in the room. There's just so much talk about the type of atmosphere and environment we want to be developing, and that is a priority. Then we need to be ahead of the game to make sure our facility is also meeting the needs of the district. So these are some of the leading organizations that provide for guidelines and standards. These are listed on your chart. So we have PASS, CISA, FEMA. Down at the bottom, there's Seattle school construction standards. On your sheet on the back, it talks about New York has a set that is considered premier for our nation. Seattle's school construction package is excellent. And Director Sanos has reviewed many and is landing that that is a place that we need to be looking. So I want you to know this is present. But this package that we have is about thinking in a layered approach. It's not about do we do this or that. It is the world of and. There are so many different layers to school safety and security. We need to be touching on all of them. So the chart that you have compares why you would utilize one of those types of standards versus another. And that's just a quick cheat sheet to kind of get a feel for that. We're going to be looking at all of these and deciding, but our primary interest is to look at PASS and CISA, because those two really do meet the needs of what our school district will be moving for in construction. So PASS is interesting because it's a tiered system. So it allows you to look at how your school can start small and build up from there. And that is one approach we absolutely want to take because it's responsible. You need to evaluate your school district, what its readiness is for things, what it's lacking, and be able to implement it in a reasonable way that meets the budget, okay? We also know that there are case studies. There's a case study right in Snohomish, Washington that we're looking at of how implementations have worked or were challenged in different places. So we're going to continue to do that. Risk assessment. We have had Director Sanos implement an audit of our school district for risk, for safety and security. And so we are wrapping that up and we'll be getting back information. School safety committees are in place, but next year we have a goal that we're really going to be working hard to get those school safety committees in sync and also aware of the types of standards and guidelines that we need to meet. So there will be education next year. The recommendations for the board that I bring to you are that we should adopt a multi-layered school safety and security framework and work from that, and PASS and CISA would be those frameworks. We need to make sure we prioritize the lower cost but high impact solutions. Just makes sense for us. And then plan for long-term resilience. So tiered progression. Take our time to do that well. Make sure that we consider environmental design related to school construction that does look at safety and security that way. And there are districts right in our backyard that have done this very well in the I-5 corridor. So we know that that will be important.
I just had a question. So these different standards, are these like private companies that sell products, or is this like a government? Are these like government?
They're agencies and organizations.
So what
So
is,
they're
so PASS, is that like some federal thing or a state thing, or?
it's a consortium. So PASS is a consortium of different school safety and security experts with different perspectives.
Okay.
So they have convened into a group that allows them to evaluate school safety from many different angles.
Okay, and is that the same? I mean, I know what FEMA is. I assume that's like things that actually come from FEMA.
Yes, these are all organizations that are offering an arm of their organization dedicated to school safety and security.
So not a paid consultation, it's free. All of this is just.
All of these organizations have information for us to access. Could we pay to have a consultant come who's a specialist with CISA? You could, but I think our goal right now is to make sure that our design teams for these projects are well aware. When we interview, we're going to be asking, are you familiar with environmental design related to school safety and security? Are you familiar with PASS standards? So that we're working toward a goal. Okay, so next steps, our security audit results will come in. We are in the midst of having that be wrapped up. Okay, we're excited to get more. Our design advisory committee will continue to explore school environment and atmosphere goals. They're doing a wonderful job of that, and I know you've experienced it. And then our construction management and architecture design teams will be hired eventually, won't be immediate, but they will be given information about this that I'm sharing with you now, and then design advisory committee interests. So we're taking a comprehensive look here and just wanted to introduce to you what these standards could be. All right, good. Have a few more things. It's a busy time. Okay. Speaking of facilities, we are going to be launching a new facilities management system called FMX. This will allow us to do a lot of functionality with inventory, managing how we're consuming supplies, and monitoring equipment life cycles. We'll have all of the typical staff requests for facilities attention going through this new system. We're scheduling it to launch next week, likely on Tuesday. And we're really looking forward to what this is going to do for us on the budget side. This is one of those situations where we're doing a bit of investment around the system, and we know that it's going to pay us dividends because we can track where expenditures really are cutting it or they're not. So just let you know that's coming soon. I met with Field Hall Arts and Learning today. They are a group that has been working with Port Angeles to integrate fine arts grant money into the schools. And they have notified me that we have a donor organization, which I'll announce in a bit, that is willing to help facilitate launching that in SQUIM. And so that's very exciting. And I will be meeting with principals to talk more about which schools we think would benefit most from this. And the choices are quite vast. So it could be anything from dance to theater to visual arts to singing. I mean, they've done a really nice job, and they've piloted now for 3 years in Port Angeles, so they know what works and what are challenges. So I'm very excited they've approached us, and I appreciate the donors that keep considering us as good partners. So I think, oh, KSQM today. I was a guest on KSQM to talk about our efforts for the community book read. And Sassy Susan and I talked for about 45 minutes about the reason that we're doing this book study. And we emphasized what the calendar was for the reading. And if you go to our website, I just want everybody to know that we do have resources up, because it's not just about the reading. It's about the exposure to the content. And so if you might not be someone who wants to read right now or has the time, you can put a podcast on while you drive. And we have links to all of those resources here so people can join us in any way that fits them. We are looking for survey launch in early June once people have had exposure to this information. We also would love to have community participation, maybe in a culminating book club or book talk experience. So more information will be coming, But I just would say to folks, go to YouTube, look at the podcast possibilities for both of these books and get involved. Also, Screenagers is a documentary that's out there in a few different iterations. Watch it with your family. It's a very interesting story to be tracking and probably relevant in every household around. That's all.
Any questions? All right. With that, that's going to bring us to board business. We do have the to approve the annual WIAA renewal resolution 10.01, and would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the annual WIA renewal resolution number 7 for 24-25 school year.
Second.
Okay, we moved and seconded. Do we have discussion? Okay, do we have an advisory vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. It's gonna move us to the Design Advisory Committee discussion.
Well, I'll kick us off. Our Design Advisory Committee has had 2 meetings, and what has been very exciting is that members of these groups have gone to field trips at other locations. And I just wanted to start the discussion by saying, number one, thank you for your participation on this committee, because you hearing it firsthand from our community constituents is absolutely fantastic. I want to show you some of the field trip photographs so that we can talk about some of the items that we saw on these trips. This is Ferndale High School, and Ferndale High School was opened in segments. Most recently, the last segment just this year. You can see around the collage here that we looked at many elements. There are some elements that actually look similar to things you see in other places. So you can see the cafeteria with those amazing windows, very, very high ceilings. You can see the bleachers there are actually attached to that commons area. You see that same thing at Olympic High School almost. So there's definitely effect that is moving through our state about how things are looking. An interesting thing I want to show you is up in the top row, and right where the cursor is, those are bathrooms, which may not seem too exciting to show, but the format that Ferndale High School used for their bathrooms is that they have a staff bathroom in the middle, and then on either side of that door is the opening to the student restrooms. And they said that this setup ended up having benefits they hadn't really considered. And that is that staff are routinely coming to the area. And so the bathroom behavior and issues have been much more successful with this new build because of just this presence, right? And it's an unpredictable presence. So it's something that we'd want to think about. You can see the safety entrance vestibule there at Ferndale High School, very open, airy, highly visual with the windows, lots of light in this high school. You see the covered seating at their stadium and their new turf in the center there. And one thing I'd say about Ferndale High School is the unexpected element that made a mark with me is the signage. So you can see their signage on the outside of their high school, but there was signage and wayfinding through the entire high school that was very effective. So it was something where I thought, oh, it's not what you always think about, but it's very useful when you're new in a building. Then we went to Sunnyland Elementary in Bellingham. This was the same architect, just an elementary school. The elementary school had a very limited footprint on which it could be built. You'll see that as you come in, it was a similar safety vestibule, very open, lots of windows, and then you walk into the office and that's how you're welcomed, right there in the middle. It was very, very pleasing. You can see that they are lucky enough to have a park behind their school, and so they've taken advantage of it.
I
Um,
see all the picnic tables. and
yes,
stuff, trees.
yes. I'd like you to look at their playground. The flooring of the playground is rubberized with padding. And so one of the contractors actually demonstrated to the team how they could fall from one of the equipment pieces as an adult and land on this covering and have no injury or bruising. And it's very, very soft. They also put in a small piece of turf for the students to be able to have field games. The classrooms themselves, I would say, were spacious and had more storage than we find in Helen Haller Elementary right now. So that was certainly of interest to the teachers. Storage is a theme that I hear every single conversation. So we need to remember that. Then we had a second field trip that actually went to Central Kitsap, and they went to 3 schools. They went to Central Kitsap High School, Fairview Middle School, and Hawk Elementary. I was not on this field trip, but Director Sanos was, so he'll be talking more with you when he gives his update. But you can see similar effects. Amazing storage going on, lots of use of light, the way the grounds were capitalizing on native plants and easy to maintain. This
That
was,
looks like a warehouse at the bottom, the one in the center. Is that like, is
yes,
that like major storage?
I believe so, but I wasn't in attendance, so we'll have to clarify with him. Okay. All right. Is that it? Okay, so we have some more photographs, and some teachers took different levels of photographs because I think depending on the perspective that you go with, you might look at different things. So great to get out and see. So I'll stop there and let you all discuss the Design Advisory Committee experiences.
I'm on the Design Advisory Committee, and I think Director Pickens and Halverson have both, and no, okay, yeah, have been to some meetings. We've had 2 meetings. I will say the second meeting, we did increase our numbers. And I anticipate we might even do so going forward into more meetings. So as the word's getting out in the community, we're getting more people involved and excited about it. They've talked about a few different things in there, like a superintendent was saying, as far as feelings. So we're not in the design stage exactly yet. They're kind of like what feelings we want to come out of there, because we can only work with so much right now. There's not a budget yet. And some of the things from field trips that even came out is they mentioned acoustics. How sometimes they have done buildings, and after they're done, they're like, we don't even want to use that space because the echoing is so bad that we don't even like that space anymore. So something they said you want to be aware of when you're building is acoustic. So these discussions lead to things that maybe we wouldn't have expected to see, that acoustic consideration was a paramount design. It could actually do take a space that you planned on using and make it somewhat unusable. A lot of talk about buildings being adaptable. A lot of the community is saying we want to be able to grow with it and not have to run another bond. So being fiscally responsible, making sure that so I say that there's a lot of good discussions over there. The interaction is good. I think the topics and the way it's being led is good. So far, I think seeing the numbers increase rather than decrease as you go more in meetings is a positive thing.
And unusual.
Yeah. Normally you start these things, they start off good and then they start to dwindle down.
Yeah.
This one's growing already. So I think that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Well, I missed the first meeting. I was only there for the second, and I will say that I thought the facilitator, Eric, did a great job of keeping us on task and keeping us moving forward in a way that was made for a very positive environment. We're talking about positive learning environments. I thought he established one in that room. And so a lot of, and one of the things that interested me was how interested people were in the students' experience. They were really, it seemed to me, people were trying to see the usage of the space from a student's perspective, whether they be neurodivergent or anything. There's just the different interests and the different kids who come into a classroom. So I thought that was, since none of us are students in there, it was great to try to put yourself in the mindset of somebody who's actually going to have to live in that space. So I thought the discussion went really well, and it was positive moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated a lot of the conversation around, and I think some of these you can anticipate the back and forths, but we're talking about things like a welcoming environment, with natural light and open spaces, but then you also have safety and security, and not just what we typically might go to safety, but also we're thinking about like the acoustics and that how that intertwines with everything, not just from a presentation perspective, but
Right.
just like how that makes students feel. And so I appreciate that as well, just that folks to speak to your point about the student experience overall is very meaningful. That conversation is, you can just tell that people are coming at it from a place of being very authentic and really wanting to provide the best for our students, which is what this is all about. And so there's also a level of excitement, I feel like, in both meetings where people are excited to be doing this type of work. I mean, which I am as well, right? And so it is kind of a new page for our district when we really think about it in the grand scheme of things. That's yeah, absolutely. So yeah. Anything to add or any questions
No,
from the rest of
I
the board?
applaud your efforts to get people out to other districts to see what other schools look like. 'Cause that's been one of my concerns, is people in Squim just haven't been out there and seen what schools look like in other places. So if there's more opportunity for this committee or others to do that. Like I said, if you're getting new people on the committee, it might be worthwhile here down the road here to have another visit someplace. I don't know.
I think that's a grand idea. And there is a tremendous amount of school construction, especially along the I-5 corridor. And we may not see that as relevant to us because that's not our environment. But the point of it is going to look for the elements that we have set our priorities for us and distill. And it's just as important to see what you wouldn't want. Right? So also when you encounter these schools and talk to the staff and the students, they'll tell you what's working in that building and what isn't. So I'll say this, the student voice needs to be integrated into this process. So we're going to be thinking along with Lincoln around how can we start bringing students together to do their own design advisory and then integrate. And this will take some time to do, but I'm really looking forward to that part.
All right, and WASDA D4 regional meeting discussion. Why don't you kick us off, Pat?
I just, I never have any opinions about those meetings. It was great. No, it was great. I thought we had some good discussions with some of our colleagues, mostly in South Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I thought one of the things that came up that was that I really appreciated was when you're having a situation where you do have people coming in for public comment, and there may be the concern that people give public comment but we don't respond, and that people get upset about that. They kind of informally scheduled in what they called a networking break or something like that, kind of in the middle of the meeting, where it's basically just sort of like a 5-minute restroom break, but that it would give the board members an opportunity to go out, thank members of the public for coming to the meeting, and have an informal conversation when you couldn't necessarily respond to their comments at the time of their comments, but just to let them know we appreciate you coming, and engage people. And I thought, that I just thought that was a really that was interesting. So you never know what you're going to pick up when you go to something like that in your brief conversations back and forth about whatever the topic of the day is, which I think it was leading with purpose was the topic. And anyway, I I always enjoy the van ride most of all, but because it gives us a chance to kind of get caught up. But yeah, I'm glad I went. And they're also their culinary students prepared dinner and dessert for us, and it was very good. And they were very professional in their presentation and the way that they just sort of handled themselves. And it was nice to see that they had that opportunity to, you know, to have that kind of like small catered dinner experience. And yeah, we really appreciated that. So they were very gracious hosts. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'll just add that I agreed with all of the highlights you had just mentioned. And yeah, the networking kind of breaks and something that sort of resonated with me as well. And, you know, because I think about a lot of times we have our similar to tonight where we had, you know, a lot of we have presentations and those type of things, but then maybe even immediately after public comment might be an appropriate time to just take 5 minutes. And it can be networking, but it could also be maybe you do have some other needs to attend to for a few minutes before we get into the rest of the meeting. So I appreciate hearing that, but just it's just always very I think time well spent to be able to find out how other boards operate, how other districts are operating, best practices, because you know, outside of our own meetings, we'll talk about it at meetings, but outside of that, we're all busy doing certain things. So to carve out some time to do this, I think very valuable.
I would say one other thing that was helpful when the superintendent was speaking was he was talking about the difference when you had a unified board supporting the superintendent and the administrative team and all being on the same page, because apparently they had some disruptions with the Kitsap board, you know, South Kitsap board in the past few years, and some, you know, just some you know, some situations where people were not on the same page and there was conflict. And he just was talking about what a difference it makes. And I think as a board, that's it's good to hear, you know, because sometimes you think, does it really make a difference? And to hear the superintendent say, it makes a huge difference, you know, and to know that I've got the support and the unity of the board all focusing on the same purpose and the same goals just makes a superintendent's job so much easier. And it was just it was good to hear that.
Yeah. I think the other thing that resonated from that was reported out from, I'm not sure if it was superintendent or the board members, it might have been the superintendent who mentioned the presence of school board members in their schools, where he had said it's not that it's our buildings are very used to it. It's not like stop everything, stop, you know, there's a school board member coming. No, it's, you know, because it's become, I don't want to say routine, but because you have such an active presence of folks visiting schools, it's
And
just
because
kind of,
it's not viewed as a confrontational or hostile relationship.
Inspection.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, I'm just trying to find out what's going on. You know, I'm not here to critique you. I'm not going to get on the phone and call somebody and tell, you know, I want to educate myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm.
yeah. I really appreciated that. So
Yeah. The topic there that South Kitsap put on was leading with purpose. And they went through a few different prompts talking about the role of school board, outlining that. And leading with purpose was, you know, boils down to, I think they took the section of what is your why? Why are you involved with the school board? Why are you trying to accomplish something? What is the results that you want over there? And I kind of took that to, you know, in my own life, how I look at things. I always say, you know, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And I feel like that was kind of their point, was stay focused on your why and make sure that your outcomes are driven to reach that goal and not get sidetracked on other things that could be nice and shiny or distraction just from where you're at. So, you know, to have emphasis on that was good. The food was great. I was really surprised that our culinary students did such a fantastic job. I mean, they even offered to take some home, and I think most people did take some leftovers. We took us one home, and I had that for my second dinner at home and shared it with the wife. They had dessert and everything, so it was wonderful. It was such a wonderful host. Gave us some ideas for when we get our next D4 host here. But it was a good program, and I think that there is a resource through WASDA. They have a guide for leading with purpose, so they pulled a section out of that that you can go to get more information on leading with purpose through WASDA. So that's all I had.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So that wraps that up. I did just want to take a brief personal point of privilege, if I will. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I think it's okay to do it because they're running unopposed. But I want to thank both Pat and Marin, who have both stepped up to serve again, or put their name out there and what looks like a promising thing. And I appreciate the service, continuing to step up. So thank you very much.
Just
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So
This thing just pass them on and move on. You're here to see. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that commitment. It means a lot. Okay. And so with that, I believe that's all we have. Our next meeting is okay, already in June. Good heavens. Right. Now that happened. All right. We will be adjourned.